Athletes Podcast, Episode 3. I'm your guy, Devine, co-host and co-founder of Training4Athletes.com. This is my partner, Jason Miller, also co-founder and co-host of the Training4Athletes.com. We're the digital marketing platform that provides coaches and trainers for athletes to help them unlock their full potential.
We're really excited to be joined by our guest today, Jeff Manto. For those of you who don't know, Jeff has an extensive playing, coaching, and training career that brought him to the highest levels of both as a player and as a coach, and now owns the Manto Player Development Center. So we're really excited to kind of jump in and talk about not only his youth sports journey, but through the lens of a former major leaguer and a coach that played at that level, to give some advice to kids and to parents who are now in that 10 to 14 development range. So, Jeff, thank you so much for being with us.
I really appreciate you guys having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, Jeff, and being a Bristol resident and following your career. We're a hero to a lot of us. Like I told you earlier, I went into the high school and tried to steal your jersey, but Javi didn't let me in, so that's why I don't have it on.
So before we jump into questions with Jeff, let's hear a little bit about our sponsor for this month's episode of Training for Athletes.
All right, this episode of Training for Athletes is brought to you by Rooney Family Screening, Printing, and Embroidery. Looking to make your business, team, or event stand out? We've got you covered. From custom screen printing and professional embroidery to thousands of promotional products, we help you leave a lasting impression. Whether you need t-shirts, polos, hats, hoodies, drinkware, pens, bags, or giveaways, we deliver quality products with fast, friendly service. No order is too big or too small. Let us bring your logo to life and help your brand get noticed. Call Rooney Family Screen Printing and Embroidery today. Brian McGinty, 278-229-2268, or email McGintyBrian@gmail.com. Custom apparel, promotional products, your brand done right.
All right, Jeff, here we go. Let's dive into it a little bit. So first off, welcome to Training for Athletes. You had an extensive career, right? Both as a player and as a coach at all different levels, culminating in the highest level. Now you dedicate your time to developing youth through the Manto Player Development Center as well as a high school coach. What made that shift for you in wanting to go from, that level to, helping develop that next generation of baseball player?
I wanted to, it wasn't a bucket list thing. It was one of these things that there was an opportunity that came to fruition. I remember getting a call from Billy Everett a long time ago, and he goes, would you ever consider coming to Egan and coaching? I'm thinking, come on, I'm not coaching the Conwell Egan. I'm not coaching high school. I'm ready to go home. I'm not doing anything. And then sometime later, Pat Donlin reached out and said, hey, are you interested in coaching high school baseball? And I said, never even thought about it. And I said, not really. I said, no, Billy called me a couple of weeks ago. And he goes, well, give us some consideration. And if you're interested, let us know. And I'm thinking, these guys must be losing their mind. There's no chance that I'm interested in this. And, then the more I got to think about it, it wasn't, one of those why? It was why not? I have the time. I know I have the ability to do it as far as time-wise. I can get the practices. And I said, you know what? I looked at the lineup. I did all that stuff you're supposed to do. As a matter of fact, I called a couple coaches in the area. I'm not going to mention names. I don't know if they want me to mention their names. And asked them why they coached high school sports. And everybody had the same answer. And they said, you know what? Making an impact on somebody's life that young is something that's incredible. And Jerry, I know you've done it 1,000 times. And I got to thinking, I'm thinking, you know what? This may not be as bad as I think it might be. And then soon after, I said, you know what? I'll go in and talk about this. And it came out. It was pretty cool. Cool.
Jerry and I have had that conversation a number of times where I look back as a former high school basketball coach, Jerry doing it. My favorite part of that were the relationships we built with those kids. Yeah. To be able to feel like you did make a little bit of an impact during the short time you had them is a really cool thing.
Yeah, and I think it's, you don't get sometimes the immediate kind of feeling, right? Because kids are still developing. They don't understand what you were trying to teach them, right? And the lessons you were trying to teach them that kind of transcend outside of the game into life. But then when you see those kids that you don't think you had an impact on come back later on and tell you how much of an impact you had on them, that's awesome. I got a couple of those kids on my staff right now at Ben Salem, and it's pretty awesome, right? And they're the not the aha moments, but they're like, that's the reason why you do it. You know, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm not there yet because I haven't had the players recycled out of college yet.
Right.
And I think we have juniors in college playing right now. So hopefully in a couple of years they'll come back and say, hey, you know, that was not a thank you, but hey, that was pretty cool when we did that. And I'll probably bring back a memory I never even thought about.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
It's a cool thing. Yeah, so being in it now, right? And it has to be different, right? I'm sure it's rewarding too to see like the major league guys, especially like the farm system guys that you have a chance to impact, and they're trying to get to a level that you were at, and so it got to be cool to kind of help them develop and get to that point. But it's a little bit different, I think, when you have the young kid that haven't reached that point yet, that they want to aspire to get there, but they're not there yet. It's cool.
Well, and the funny thing is, and you guys know this, right? Probably 9 times out of 10, when they come back and talk about those memories, it's almost never sports related, right? It's that moment on the bus. It's that funny thing that happened in practice, locker room, something we said. So it's pretty cool to hear that kind of their take on their experience, because it's never about that drill that we ran in practice or, you know, that 1 minute left in a game. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, right, you were great at 3 sports in high school, right? And so you played multiple sports throughout your career. Where did baseball fit in to those 3 sports, right? And because that's kind of what your life became, baseball. But being a multi-sport athlete, where did baseball fit in at that time?
It didn't fit in at all. It's as funny as that sounds. I remember going through the recruiting process, and the recruiting process was so much different. There weren't many rules at all. And I remember signing to go to Temple in August, and that's unheard of. That never happens. You know, signed a full scholarship to go to Temple in August. That doesn't happen. And how it came to be is that I remember getting half scholarships in football, and play half basketball. Then I remember getting a scholarship, half baseball and half basketball and half football and half this, half that. And a funny story was that Skip Wilson, the head coach at Temple University, called Harry Startzel, who was our local bird dog. Okay, and he helped a lot of kids in baseball. Skip Wilson calls Harry Startzel and says, "Hey, I hear about this Manto kid. He throws hard." And he goes, and Harry Startzel goes, "Yeah, you better get him." And he goes, "Well, I don't have any money left." He goes, "Well, listen, if you don't give him money, he's not coming. If the full scholarship or nothing, he has offers in this and that and the other thing." And so Skip Wilson offered me a full scholarship. So about 2 weeks later, my father, blue collar guy, always had 2 or 3 jobs. He said, "Hey, how's that college thing coming around?" I said, "It's coming around good." He goes, "Well, what are the offers?" This school's offering half this, and this school's offering half that. This school's half Delaware, all these Penn States, and this. And he goes, "Well, what about the Temple thing?" And I said, "Well, they're offering a full scholarship." And he goes, "Well, I guess you're playing baseball at Temple." Right, yeah. It wasn't like, so baseball was not even even thought about, except because I only went there because it was a full scholarship. And when I got there, I was a thrower, not a pitcher. And what was enticing when I got drafted out of high school as a pitcher, people thought I could pitch. I did not like it. I didn't like one bit about it. It hurt. I didn't know what I was doing. And sure enough, I get to Temple. I can't throw a strike. I never threw a strike. I could throw hard. And my strikeouts were, what do you call it? They were called reputation strikeouts. Like, this guy throws hard. Swing. Yeah, you better swing.
Start swinging early.
Start swinging early. I just kept on swinging. I kept on swinging.
I gave a lot of guys strikeouts.
Yeah.
If you threw over 65, you were striking me out.
So I didn't even like pitching. I didn't like, and so I get to Temple, and I'm thinking, the only thing I do is pitch.
You didn't even hit then, right?
No, I didn't hit then. So I'm like, wait, I don't want to do this. This is not fun at all. So I went to the coach. And I said, "Hey, I'm not digging this at all." And I said, I want to play shortstop. And he looked at me, "Wait a minute here. You were picked up in August. We took you in August. And now you're coming in here telling me you want to play shortstop at D1 level?" And I don't know what came over him. I said, "Yeah, I do." And so I had a little bit of a private workout, and things worked out from there.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because I had a lot of coaches tell me that they would let me pay to go. So that was cool. Very similar situation there.
So let's switch gears a little bit, right? Baseball, but sports in general look very different from the time that the 3 of us were playing multi-sports as a youth, right? You get into specialization, kids playing year-round, maybe in baseball, you got some kids playing 100 games a year at 12 years old. How do you handle those conversations at the development center, both with kids and parents?
Well, I tell them, my personal opinion is that you have to play other sports if you can, up until at least junior high, 9th or 10th grade, and at least up until CYO levels. After that, if you're good enough, you have to specialize. Okay. And the reason why I say you have to specialize, there's too much money to give away. We didn't, like the infamous, we didn't start this. Okay, the NCAA started this. Major League Baseball started this recruiting thing. They cut back on how many trips people can make. But the money being offered, you have to become like a one-sport guy. And maybe at Bristol, if you weren't the point guard, if I wasn't the point guard, there was no point guard. Right. If you weren't the quarterback, I wasn't the quarterback, there was no quarterback. Right. Okay, if there was no pitcher or shortstop, it was just like it didn't happen. Right. In the big schools, I don't know where you have time to play 2 or 3 sports because you look around these big schools. The only guy I can think about it was an impact guy that I remember playing. It was like the Zuckerman type out of Pennsbury, and he was impact on the court and on the field. But yet today, if you're good enough, you're one of those guys. If you're an elite guy, you got to play one.
So let me ask you then, right? Like, what's that percentage? Right? We talk about the percentage of kids that go on to play D1 sports of any kind. Right. And the problem I see as you may not know, I've been an athletic director in a high school for 20 years, is that most parents think my kid's a D1 kid. My kid's going to play at the next level. They need to pick at 12 years old. Yeah. The reality is we're talking about a small percentage of kids that really have that it factor, right?
Right. I agree with that. I don't think that you have to play. Again, at 12 years old, that's a little ridiculous. And you can't have that. But yet, once you identify that, my son might or my daughter might be able to make some money into high school, you got to choose one sport. You really do have to. Like, we have a couple guys at Egan right now that are what kind of. I talk to the parents. We have some guys who are playing winter sports. Like, for me, if you play football, you have the whole middle season off to play baseball. I'm cool with that.
Right.
But if you were playing basketball and anticipate yourself to be an impact in baseball, well, our winter workouts are well into in the season. We're rocking and rolling. So for you to walk off the court and go, here I am, you're not that kind of a player. That's where I think you lose out. I really do think you lose out. Now, here's another problem I have. I don't think we can tell the players they can't do it yet.
I agree.
The parents say, well, my son's not a D1 player. And I think to myself, wait, how do you know that?
Right.
Why don't you let somebody give him enough avenues, then decide? And what happens, they put it in the kid's head, well, I'm not a D1 player. Well, who told you that? Well, you're not a D1 player until
someone tells you.
Until you go to D2.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that there is a fine line to where, like, the reality, it's easy to pick the reality. But when you have that eye for it that says, just maybe, he has a chance, you got to go to somebody who knows the difference and say, wait, let's just push this envelope a little bit. But to shut somebody, you're not a D1 player, maybe you are.
So that kind of started to go into the question that I was going to ask, and I think that you answered. So I want to change it in a second. And so parents sometimes, and I said this in our last podcast, become so unrealistic, though, right? Because they're putting so much money into this individual training and things that we didn't do before. So they're looking for that return on their investment. You have an eye for it, right? And so what's that conversation look like with a parent that is kind of unrealistic, that thinks their kid is, no, they're Division I, and you can see, like, they're not. Like, how would you be able to approach a parent that way and kind of not let them down, but kind of give them a reality check in terms of, like, your kid is pretty good, but there's a different level. Like, how do you have that conversation?
Well, I'll do it through the media. Actually, there's so many statistics saying in baseball, especially if your son is a pitcher, and D1 guys right now are throwing anywhere between 92 and 97. So you can use
numbers, yeah.
And then they'll say, okay, now the D3 guys are throwing this, and D2 guys are throwing this. You tell me where you fit. Right. Okay, and it is realistic. Okay. And you look at the big leagues, and sometimes I'll say, like, watch ESPN every night. Can your son do that? Can your son do something on the highlight reel that night? Just be honest with yourself.
Right.
And they sometimes are unrealistic when they'll come to them. Then I finally ask them and say, it's not going to happen. They don't have to twitch. And it goes so much further into that to where, like, I had a tough conversation with my son. Okay, so I asked my son when it was time to make a decision, I had to ask him, you have to ask your sons this, Who are you in the big leagues? Who do you remind yourself of in the big leagues? And figure that out. Okay, so now you go down the lineup, and all of a sudden, are you Alex Bohm? Are you a Harper? Are you a Ryan Howard? Are you a Mike Schmidt? And if the answer keeps no. Okay, let's go to the worst team in baseball. Are you the if you're the worst team in baseball, are you the worst third baseman in baseball? Are you better than the worst third baseman in baseball? And you keep on trickling down, and finally you say, well, I'm not even close. And so the reality, sometimes the conversation goes on like that. And I had to have the conversation with my son, like, where are you? And the same thing with the parents. Like, who does your son remind you of? And he doesn't have the twitch. He doesn't have the hip. And just watch what these players look like. And I invite the parents to go watch fall ball around here. Go to Villanova, go to Ryder, go to LaSalle. Watch those D1 teams play and see if your son fits.
My mom would have told me, you're probably somewhere on the lines of Topper and and Zim.
So you look at like guys like, I always think about Nick Saban, who talked exclusively about recruiting multi-sport athletes, right? So take the elite guys out, right? Take the 15-year-old Bryce Harper, the 13-year-old LeBron James. For most people, do you feel multi-sport makes you a better baseball player?
Yes, because it'll teach you a different discipline. I think when guys go in the weight room, I think in general they're all doing the same exercises. I think they're jumping on the same boxes. I think they're throwing around the same kettlebells. I think they're holding their planks the same, and I think they're doing all the armbands the same. But I think there's a different discipline in that multi-sport player that can help. Again, if it's a winter sport going into a spring sport, but it can help because, like in basketball, you got to learn how to defend. So it's the same movement as a shortstop. Okay, and the same movement as an infielder. And so that could help. But if you're wasting your time on the bench where you can be getting the baseball reps, and if you're a bench player in baseball and bench player in basketball, play both.
Right.
If you're not the impact. And we have a couple instances at Egan where we have a MVP all-Catholic bowler, and he's going to be an impact baseball player as well. So what do you do? This kid's an impact bowler, impact baseball player, so you got to wear it. Yeah. You just got to wear it. Say, okay, man, when you're ready, come on out. We're waiting.
So that's why you brought the bowling shirt?
That's like the bowling.
Get them out a little earlier. All right. So, like, when I was younger, I dribbled everywhere. I played my right hand versus my left hand full court. I hit rocks, threw the ball against every wall. And every now and then, Wayne Keys would pick me up on a Sunday and take me to shoot. We didn't have the Manto Development Center. Mm-hmm. We didn't have the individual training. Growing up on Elm Street, right? Mm-hmm. Growing up on Second, we didn't have the money if the trainer was there. Right? Nowadays, kids don't do things on their own, right? And so the shift is going to the Manto Development Center, the individual training, and doing all those things. So there's some old school tactics that work, but there's a lot of new things that work. And so how do you balance those at the Manto Development Center where you're using some of these new training techniques, but then there's also some old school things that I'm sure you still implement. So where's the balance between those two?
Well, when we get the analytics, the difference between the analytics with a guy like myself and a guy like you see in the big leagues today, the guy who has the analytics today can see the numbers, but can't tell you how to get those numbers. Whereas you can give me the numbers, I can tell you how to get those numbers. Like he'll come down from the office and go, "Hey Jerry, you had a exit velocity of 107. That was good." And you're going to go, "Oh, thanks, Jimmy." Okay, then he's going to walk away. Then you're going to come to me as a hitting coach. Hey, I had 107. And say, "Well, how'd you get I can tell you how to get that." They can give you the numbers. What we do at the Manto Player Development Center, we tell you how to get it. There's a drill set. There's a mentality. There's a way. And when you, as you know, you play in these big at the Palestra, you need to know how to teach that mentality. So when the players walk in our place, I can tell you what it feels like to stink. I can tell you what it feels like to be good. I can tell you what it was like to play in college. I can tell you what it was like to play in high school. And it's all the same dopamine. And you start getting into that mental side of it and to teach them, hey, this is where you're looking. This is what we have to do. If you want that exit velocity, you may not see it on a 1-2 pitch, but you may get it on a 3-1 pitch. And this is what your body has to do. Your short arms needs to do this. So at my place, I'm telling you how to do it. I'm telling you how to cheat to get it. Where the other guys want to go through every step A, B, C, D, and E, to where if I see a kid walk in with short arms, you need a longer bat, dude. If I see a big kid, long armed, long limbed, you need a shorter bat. Because you have the limbs, you have the length. So those are little different tricks that we have that come with experience.
So I'm so glad you touched a little bit on analytics. And for two former basketball guys, I can tell you, there was really only one stat.
Don't say two former. He was 1,000 points.
That's true.
Too. We got three former.
Three former. There was really only one stat that Jerry cared about. I promise you, it wasn't deflections, charges, assists, rebounds.
Winning, Jason. It was winning.
Good answer. Good answer. He checked the scorebook too to see how many points he had. Baseball revolves around analytics, right? You hear about things like exit velocity, launch angle, spin rates. Where's the line, right, for youth sports, right? Kids talking about some of those analytics versus we had a great conversation before we turned these mics on about, the feel of the game, right? Where's that line between using analytics, but then also still understanding and having the feel for how to play the game?
I think what you have to do is you have to look at these numbers and these analytics as a game. You have to look at them as something that's something fun to look at. It's nothing. Analytics is a number on what you did. It's like a statistic. Okay, it's a number what you did, not what you have to do. Because I don't have to spin this ball 2,900 times to get you out every time. Okay, I don't have to have exit velocity of 107 or whatever what it is to win a game. I need to put the ball in the grass. Okay, I need to squeak one through. So what we try to do is, the analytics are fun for young kids. We have the TrackMan in my place. We have Blast Motion. I have this Game Run app, AI. I can download a video and show you exactly through analytics what you're doing wrong and what you need to do. Okay, so we have it all. But the main point is, this is fun numbers until the kids come up with the college recruiting. Now, the college recruiting guys, they can't get out. So, hey, Jeff, what's the TrackMan data telling me? Like we had Brady Guzzi. This kid is off the charts in every TrackMan data. He's off the charts. So he'll be a top pick next year out of Egan. And then we have a couple of hitters that are hitting the ball backspin. But it is, we teach them how when they get to an age. At a certain age, a young kid, it's fun. It's fun stuff. It could be like playing a video game. But as the kids get serious, hey, man, we have to clean this up. Because if I get a phone call from Penn State, or if I get a phone call from the Phillies, I got to have these numbers, and this is how you got to get the numbers, because they can't judge talent. They don't have the eye for talent, but they certainly have the eye for the numbers.
So metrics is just huge nowadays.
Oh, it's crazy. It's a cheater.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you how good you are.
No.
But it just tells you what the threshold, what numbers are at that.
And that's what most people go with now, right?
Yeah.
And it's
I think the Jumbotron at the Citizens Bank, it's TrackMan.
Yeah.
Every time the ball spins, and the people in the stands don't even know what it is.
Yep.
I don't even know what it is.
So I know you won't have a number for this, but like what percentage do you think of the number of kids are being missed because they don't necessarily have that analytic, but and you see it, and that kid's a competitor and could be successful? Do you know what I mean? Do you see that? Like a lot of kids being missed out on because they're only relying a lot of times on the metrics?
Big time.
Yeah, because I think about Tony, right?
Yeah.
I think about Tony. Like, Tony was phenomenal. He had a nose for the ball.
Right.
He wasn't, like, weight strong, right, in terms of lifting, but that dude hit like a truck.
Right.
He had instincts. But, when they did the combines, like, he's not running 4.3. He's not benching 380, right? So his numbers never showed, but they didn't put him on a field with guys to go hit and go play football, right? And so I think he's a kid that kind of missed out because he didn't hit those
match
metrics.
The way he played.
Yeah, and I understand the importance of him, but like that was going to be part of the question. Is like you see it, right? That's the eye that you have. You can look at Jason and be like, his exit velocity isn't great. I think I can get him there, but I think he has something that he can make and he'll be successful. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of kids you still
missed.
think that miss out on that.
With that, not only that, and with the number of the draft picks, the number of rounds of the draft are taken away. Absolutely, people are getting missed. There's not you don't have the grinder type. You don't have the guys that grind out at bats. You don't have the guys that know how to fight. And what's happening, the development is so quick today. And what people miss out on baseball development is you turn on TV, and all of a sudden, it seems like there's a sunny game all the time. Okay, to develop a player, you got to learn how to play in the rain. You got to learn how to play in April. Because if you're going to play in Buffalo, Detroit, Cleveland, and you got to learn how to play there. You got to learn how to play hurt. You got to learn how to play on a travel day. And these kids are being missed out because they're being rushed to the big leagues. Okay, and the kids in high school and college, they only play 20 games in high school. You're only allowed to play 20 games, and the max is like 26. High school basketball has a limit.
22, yeah.
And our kids aren't getting better, and it's like come on. So kids are definitely getting missed because the evaluators don't know or have the eye. That's why they're getting missed.
So when I look at training now, right, even go back, 5-6 years ago, training was that high school junior, senior, still trying to take that next step, maybe play at the college level. When you look at it now, kids are getting younger and younger who are starting to, start that training endeavor, 10, 14-year-old kids who have a pitching coach, a batting coach, a soccer trainer, you name the sport. How do you balance that? And I know you touched on this from a multi-sport athlete at that young age of like, hey, I want you to keep playing some of these other sports. It's only going to benefit you. How do you balance those conversations?
You got to have the conversation with somebody you trust. I really think you really have to do that because when I talk to the parents and go, hey, just let it go. We're not playing anymore. And if you miss a workout, just let the kid go play. And I don't mind parents not showing back up again because they're going to rest their kids. That's valuable and because they come back. But sometimes they are working out too young as far as the weights are going. I don't know how the body works at a young age. I know there's a lot of stress fractures going on right now with the young kids. I know there's a lot of arm trouble going on, and he's just extending these kids. And one of the big problems is I tell the parents at Egan every single year. I tell the parents at Egan, you're going to get a phone. They call it the credit card kid. Okay, if you signed up for one tournament, okay, you signed up for them all, because what I tell the parents, and I hope the parents hear this. You're going to get a phone call, and you're going to say, hey, come down to Florida. We want you to hit in front of 15 scouts. These 15 scouts are guaranteed to be there. Well, mind you, the 15 scouts live around the corner year-round.
Right.
It's not the cross-checker coming in from California or Texas. It's the guy who lives there. So they guarantee that, and that happens. You pay all this money, the flight, the hotel, the food, whatever else you got to pay for. They don't tell you that. They want you to go face the pitcher that they're calling in from Texas for free to blow you up.
Right.
Okay, and go, oh, see, I told you this pitcher's really good. Well, what about me? I'm hitting him up. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
You pay, they didn't, but the parents don't believe it. Yeah. They think the exposure, like we'll have kids all over the place, okay, not just from Egan. We'll have kids go to Florida in December, January, and say, oh, well, I got invited. Yeah, you got invited, all right. You got invited. And you go, you're going down there because they want somebody to pitch.
To stand in there.
And I'm going down there to catch. Yeah, because they want somebody to catch the ball. You can catch it because they saw you catch, and they saw that you'll pay. Yeah. And it happens all the time, man.
Yeah, and that's the sneaky thing now about the money business, right? Yeah. So I had a parent when I was at Bristol calls me up, and this kid was going into a sophomore year, didn't even play, maybe played 2 minutes of varsity. Right. Parent goes, so-and-so, I got this email that he was invited to the Elite 60 camp, and $140 or whatever it is. And I said, that's cool. I go, let's be honest. I go, here's what I want you to do first. I said, I want you to go online and I want you to search elite basketball camps, right? And you'll find there's 19 Elite 60s just in PA.
Yeah.
So we're at 700 kids already, right, in all these different camps. And I go, your son didn't even play varsity at Bristol as a sophomore. But crazy.
Well, think about, right, one of our first guests on the podcast was a gentleman by the name of Russ Romano, who really spent some time talking about mental performance and really he's a baseball guy with mental performance. But when we talked about things that change, he brought up the culture in baseball of showcases and travel tournaments and, other countries aren't doing that, right? They develop, they work on skills, they train. We're playing 100 games. We're going to all these showcases. We're going to all-star games, whatever that looks like. And, is it helping us? I don't know.
I don't think it is. And I think it's become it's obviously it's become a big business, and they're just it's some of it is a money grab. But you know what? If you keep on going back to where I believe where it all happened is I think when the NCAA cut back on recruiting. Okay, when were they supposed to see the kids? Right. Okay, so NCAA cuts back on all the monies to travel and go see the kids. So now, instead of the kid going to see somebody play on Delaware and then go see him play in Lancaster to come down to Bucks County, now they get the kid from Lancaster all in one spot. Okay, so now, well, where are we going to play them? Well,
make their life easier.
Yeah, make their life easier. So they cut back on their money. And the parents started spending, and they're thinking to themselves, you know what? We have to. The parents are thinking we have to spend this money. Major League Baseball, same thing. They cut back on their scouts. There's these showcases, and it's nuts.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
The idea of it is cool for that true prospect. Mm-hmm. Right, and it makes sense. We get them all in one place, compete against each other. But now there's 7,000 of these tournaments and 832 different levels that parents are getting caught up in. But it's crazy.
Yeah.
Burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so I think about our conversation with specialization. Like kids are starting really, really young now. And just playing that one sport. And then the burnout rate is so high. How do you keep a kid from burning out?
Push them. You got to force them to do something different. You got to force them to do something different. I really do think that there has to be another outlet. There has to be. I think there has to be a book to be read. There has to be at a club. And I know that, and I keep on talking about the Egan kids, but at Conwell Egan, I force our players to get to the choir. They're required to do Spirit Night, but we do the Rosary Club. We all these clubs, you have to join them because you have to, it's something to get off of this. And a lot of our players are in the play, they're in the choir, they're involved with Spirit Night, but you got to do something else. You really do have to. I'm not so concerned that somebody wants to play baseball only. I'm concerned if they're not doing something else as well. So as long as they're involved, active in whatever club or anything like that, I think that's okay for me. But the kid that just goes home, baseball, comes back, baseball, without doing any other club, that could be a problem. That could be a problem.
So when you look back, right, and you had this unique opportunity to now create your own development center. We talked about TrackMan and analytics. Give us specifics. What are the old school things that you still you preach, you teach, you drill, that you feel kids today may not focus enough on?
Put the barrel on the ball.
Sounds simple.
Yeah. And
maybe really, the hardest thing to do in sports.
Yeah, but put the barrel. If you're concentrating on putting the barrel on the ball rather than anything else, things get really easy. And people, that's not complicated enough. Well, what more do you want to say?
Right.
You'll have a kid that's struggling all the time, and they're struggling, and what am I doing wrong? Well, you're not putting the barrel on the ball. You're not concentrating enough. It sounds too easy. It's easier said than done. Yes, but they'll start talking about, and I'm not guilty of it. But if there's something that's obviously wrong, that's not allowing them to put the barrel on the ball, we'll discuss it. But you'll see kids walk in here in our place and have great swings. What am I doing wrong? You're doing nothing. You're doing nothing. You're just not concentrating. Mm. If the ball is not the most important thing, okay, you're going to swing and miss all the time. So the ball has got to be important. And then, sometimes I'm not afraid to tell kids the truth as far as their hitting goes and say, hey, man, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe this just isn't for you because you cannot get this done. If you can't control this, you're going to have to take a step back, and you can't be a part of this. And that's the old school stuff that you have to tell them. The second thing is the sound of it. Some people have a different sound, when they hit the ball. Some guys get the base hits and it goes off the end of the bat, and some guys are hit collectors. Everything they swing at, they go for a base hit. But when you have that kid that comes in and you can hear it differently, like those loud aluminum bats or BB core bats, when they're hit correctly, they don't make any noise. And you turn your head because you didn't hear, like, oh, man, that was nice. That was. Sometimes you hear loud and you go, oh, that's a screeching loud. But sometimes when you hear a kid hit a ball good, like, That was nice. That was nice.
I remember reading that Sports Illustrated article about Bryce Harper when he was 15. That was one of the things that was in the article that, like, you didn't have to watch him swing. It just sounded like an explosion of the ball coming
sounds
off his
different.
bat.
You can tell. You can turn your back. Even if I'm sitting in the office, you can tell who's hitting the ball good and who's not just by hearing different sounds, like from different sides of the cage. It's like, well, I'm going to go over here. This guy's hitting. You know, so it's and then the funny thing, I heard an old scout say one time, look for the height of the ball, the pop up. That measures power. Back in the old days when they didn't have all the stuff they have today, radar guns, and it was just all eye and opinion, they always talked about how high the fly ball was hit. The higher the ball, the more power. That's one of the things you look for, just as a fun thing to do.
That's cool.
All right, you ready for no timeouts?
Yeah, man. This is the fun part, baby. Now, this is the segment we call No Timeouts. The idea is just to ask you some rapid-fire questions, get a quick answer with no thought, all right, and just shoot it out. You're the third guest. Our first two guests failed miserably.
Oh, really?
Not because of their answers, it's because they took forever and they kept elaborating. It's supposed to be quick, rapid-fire, right? Now, I know some of them might take a little bit longer, which is fine, but you're not allowed. I had to call
We called a
three
timeout.
technical.
Yeah.
I had to call three technicals on our first guest. All right. So this rapid fire round is brought to you by our sponsor, Rooney Family Screen Printing and Embroidery. Take a look at Brian McGinty at 278-229-2268. Give him a call. Get your needs met. All right, Jeff, here we go. So first rapid fire question. All right, they start simple, and some of them get a little bit more involved where you can elaborate a little bit. All right, so best nickname you ever had.
Mick.
And how'd you get it? Mick.
Chris Berman on ESPN.
Not too many people can say that.
I was called Jay Nice by a bunch of my friends.
By the rest of Elm
By the
Street.
rest of Elm Street, brother, than that. So, all right, that's cool. All right, out of the 8 MLB teams, who had the best clubhouse?
Cleveland.
Favorite ballpark to hit in?
Boston.
Why?
Monster, man. The monster just
That's-
stares you
that's
down,
there.
man. It's so tempting.
Okay. Does that, all right, so I'm going to change the no timeout. So just looking at the monster, did that change people's swings?
Hell
Just
yeah,
'cause
it
you
did.
wanna
Matter of
hit it
fact,
over
it was a hell yeah. Hell yeah, you better change your swing because I tell you what, sometimes you got to get a little history involved with there too.
Yeah,
You want to
that's
get on
cool.
top of that thing.
That's nice. All right, easiest pitcher you ever faced?
David Wells.
David Wells.
Really?
Why?
I just saw every pitch out of his
Everything
hand.
from him?
Every pitch he threw, I saw out of his hand. Now, mind you, I'm a bench guy, and he's a great pitcher, and that happens all the time where he probably looks down and go, I can't believe Manto just gave that answer. I was the guy? No way.
Right. So that'd be cool if David Wells was watching this. Dave, I'm sorry, it wasn't. Yeah. So, are there secrets on certain pitchers that you know that you don't give out to anybody? I only think of like Joey, right? McEwen was able to hit Randy Johnson.
Yeah, you see all kinds of things. You see space out in center field. Like Randy Johnson's slider came out of right center field, so you were starting to look like laterally or linear. And if the ball came out like the left center field or right center field, it was a slider. If that thing came out of center field, it was a fastball. And the only thing you had to do was just throw your hands. If it was you weren't going to hit the slider. You had no chance hitting the slider.
Okay.
You had a chance hitting the fastball, but you start looking off different places in the background.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's why, and sometimes in Wrigley and in Citizens Bank and in PNC, when the hedges aren't green and that ball goes through a leaf that's not bloomed yet, you'll lose it.
Oh, wow.
You'll lose it.
Who was the toughest?
Jimmy
pitcher?
Key.
Jimmy Key.
Jimmy Key, he was probably threw about 88 miles an hour. He went in, he went out, he went hard, he went soft, and I couldn't figure him out.
Wow. Biggest pinch me moment.
The biggest pinch me moment was my first home run in Yankee Stadium.
It's not a bad.
Yeah. It's a great one.
All right. 4 home runs and 4 straight at bats. Was that the craziest day ever?
Ever. It took like 3 days to do it. It started on June 8th, I believe it was. And because it took 3 days, I had some walks involved. Okay, and there were some sac flies in there. So what happened was that, and I batted 7th. Okay, so I wasn't getting my 4 or 5 at-bats every night. I was walking, and that was pretty cool. And if I have time to tell this story, this is a really cool.
You can.
Okay,
Yeah.
This is a cool story. So I hit the 4 home runs, and so that night in Baltimore, and I fly out to right field in my fifth attempt, and the next night we go to Cleveland. Okay, so the first at-bat, I cracked my bat off of Charles Nagy. He was a slider. I went for it. I reached it. I cracked the bat. So I get the bat, and I throw it in the dugout trash can. So I'm sitting there going, you know what? I better keep that bat. I need to keep that bat. So I take the bat out of the trash can. I run it back upstairs to the clubhouse. I tell the clubhouse kid to run back up to the club, puts it in my locker. That night, the PR guy comes and says, hey, the Hall of Fame called and said they want a piece of memorabilia from this game because they do current events. And so lo and behold, the only guy I know to go to and ask, what should I do, was Cal Ripken, because they wanted the hat, a glove, spikes, a uniform, obviously the bat. So I go to Cal. I said, Cal, what should I do? And he goes, send him the bat. I said, wait a minute. I'm not going to send him the bat. This bat? I said, he goes, what else are you going to do? And I said, well, I want this bat for my house, for my den. He looked at me and goes, seriously?
Your den?
Let me ask you a question. You want this thing hanging in your den rather than the Hall of Fame? He goes, give them the bat and send it back. I'm like, wow. So that's why. So now I tell the kids from the area when they go to the Hall of Fame and play in the baseball tournaments up there, they get I call up. Okay, and I tell the people, I got some people from Bucks County coming. They're going to be giving you a hard time about seeing the bat, and then sometimes I get photos back, and the kids get a kick out of it. And
awesome.
And I tell them about why the crack's there.
That's awesome.
That is cool. You want to keep it
For the 8 people in this den versus.
All right. I think you were alluding to this earlier. Funniest error or blooper you were part of?
Fenway Park, man, 1991. I'm playing third base. We're playing the Boston Red Sox in Boston. I'm playing third base. Greg Swindell's pitching for us. We're supposed to win this game because he's pitching against a rookie. So the bottom of the 7th inning, we're up 3-2. Man on second base. I make an error. Jody Reed comes around, scores 3-3. Okay, now Fenway Park, I'm 0 for 3 at the time. I have 2 strikeouts. Okay, so the Fenway fans, they are brutal. They talk about the Philly fans, and they're brutal too, but Fenway's a lot closer. You can reach out and shake their hand. And so, bottom of the 8th, same situation, 3-3 game, man on second base, I don't know who was on second. I go to my left, another error in the left field. Boston goes ahead 4-3. Okay, obviously the fans are killing me. So, guess who leads off the top of the 9th? I lead off the top of the 9th in Fenway Park, and I get a standing ovation.
That's good.
Oh, that's awesome. What you do on that at bat?
I choked up. I was not striking out 3 times. No, I was not striking out 3 times.
Lay down the best one of my life. That's great. Favorite teammate from any
Jim Thome.
stops?
Jim Thome.
All right. This is Jay's question. He wants to know about the 93 Phillies clubhouse. Was that the best clubhouse?
That was a lot of fun. That team got along. It was a good time from spring training to the last game in Toronto. It really was. It was the team that really got along with each other. They were crazy, and we did our thing. But let me tell you, the crazy part, nobody got hurt. Everything stayed in house. Nobody gave out an internal story. There was just a bunch of good dudes who just started getting along and playing. I mean, there was a lot of good leaders on the team. You talk about Dalton and Kruk and those guys, but they were just a team that got along, and you knew your place. You know, when everybody knows their place, and this, I guess, in the real world, if everybody knows their place, everything's cool. Okay, so everybody knew who the leader was. Everybody knew who the good player was. Everybody knew what time to be there. Everybody knew what time to get out of there. Everybody knew how to act on the road. And because of that, you had a lot of guys with similar backgrounds. It worked out great, and everybody got along. And that too good of a time at times, but it was a really, really good time.
All right, well, now I'm calling a timeout. I have to. Right, as a lifelong Phillies fan, I look back at those years were some of my favorite years as a fan. And you hear the stories, right? And you look at it now and go, man, who was the funniest, craziest guy when you're talking about Kruk and Dykstra and Dalton and Hollins and Incaviglia and, the list just keeps going, right? Who was the guy in that clubhouse that just had you cracking up all the time?
Oh, it was Kruk. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And Larry Anderson. I mean, those guys on air were exactly the way they were in the clubhouse. But what happens is that their personality, they never got credit. In my opinion, they didn't get enough credit for how good they were.
Sure.
Kruk was probably one of the fastest runners on the team. and arguably one of the best hitters in the league. Okay, arguably one of the best first basemen in the league.
Yeah.
Larry Anderson come in and shut down, your eighth inning like nobody's business. But you never heard that. You heard how funny they were, and how they were the clubhouse, the glue, if you will.
Right.
But when you look at it as a player, when you're going down the stretch, you're going, man, I hope Kruk plays. I hope they call in Larry Anderson. And those guys were key players, but you never heard about that. Like especially Kruk. Kruk, in my opinion, doesn't get as much credit as he should. He was a really good player.
And I love about him because he's so like self-deprecating, like just for fun. Like
he could be a curmudgeon now sometimes, right? Like
he's just so funny. But he was just talking about that the other day about his wheels, right? And they moved him to center field at one time, and he triples. But he always makes fun of himself. But he did have.
Oh, he could run.
Right?
He could run. He was probably the best first or third guy I know.
Wow.
All right, time back in.
All right, best swing you've ever seen.
Griffey.
If you could face one pitcher, baseball history, dead, alive, who would it be?
David Wells.
Be batting 900.
Still seeing it.
Have 11 bats in the Hall of Fame. You could get one for your basement.
No, I tell you, when I think about it, funny. I looked at probably.
Not that you could face forever.
Yeah. I tell you, there's a documentary out there called Fastball, and Walter Johnson was listed as having the fastest fastball of all time, and that might have been faster than Randy Johnson, faster than all the guys today. So that would have been pretty interesting.
That'd been cool. All right. Biggest change in the game since you played to now?
Analytics and development. The player development is not the same. Player development, when I was playing, you needed to be ready to play in the big leagues. These kids aren't ready to play in the big leagues. They just push them in the big leagues. They have nobody else to play because the minor leagues is so short. Hence, that's why college comes into play. That's why they're using colleges as minor leagues now.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important for these kids to get better.
Okay. Yeah, it's the same kind of like I think in all sports. Well, football is a little different, but like basketball is the same.
Yep.
Like these dudes are coming out early; they're not ready to play. But they're. All right. So you were talking about the fans. The funniest thing a fan ever yelled at you.
Manto, what was served at the Last Supper?
Where was that at?
Syracuse,
Where'd you
New York.
go?
I didn't get along with the people in Syracuse, and they rode me every single day I went back there. I really wasn't a good citizen in Syracuse. I didn't have a lot of good things to say about them, and so when I went back there to play, they abused me. And one of the things was, hey man, so what was served? Because I played so long, they thought I was at the Last Supper.
All right, so we'll start. One piece of advice for your younger self.
Believe. I never believed it. I never believed I would play in the big leagues. I thought the big leagues was something you saw on TV. And I still, when I was in minor leagues, I still believed that the big leagues was something you saw on TV.
Anything?
No, I'm good.
All right. Last thing before we end. Road story. Any good road stories from like the minor leagues?
Yeah, it was one of the minor league story. It was we had this one bus driver who, ironically enough, he rode us a lot. In the minor leagues, they'd take the nice bus, and you drive the bus, and he would drive back because everybody else would find their own little ways to get to the ballpark. Well, that 93 minor league system was just as crazy as the big league system, okay? And so in April, we're driving in a bus from Scranton, Pennsylvania to Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Okay, now we're going from Alaska to Siberia, basically. It's getting colder. And so we had a bunch of guys in the back of the bus smoking cigars and cigarettes. So one guy decides, as we're going about 75 miles an hour down the highway, to open up the hood or the escape hatch forward. Boom. Blew it right off the bus. And we froze our butts off on the way to, there was nothing. This guy was so upset that he goes, "No, I'm not pulling over. You guys are going to wear it.
Deal with it."
He was going to wear it because he had the heater blowing on his thing. But that was about it. That was it. So.
All right, Jeff. So when we started this podcast, one of the things that we wanted to include in it was sort of a signature question, a question that we ask everybody who sits in your seat and, hear answers from different lenses. And we've heard some great answers in our first couple episodes. So the question is this: if you could change one thing about youth sports in America right now, what would it be and why?
I would say there would be an age limit to start. You couldn't do any travel until about 12 years old. And because what you can do is you can force kids to be kids. You put the 10-year-olds, the 7-year-olds, and you look at Facebook all the time, 9U tryouts. I'm going to myself, this is crazy. I would probably start minimum 12 years old. And that's because they go to T-ball. T-ball's for the grandparents.
Right.
You know, it's a grandparents thing. And then you have 9-year-old tryouts, and that's where it starts. I would try to change that youth baseball starts at least 12 years old. Because I think somebody told me in like Colombia, they don't play soccer until 16 or something like that.
Really?
Something crazy.
There was something I was watching in Norway. Like they said the same thing. Like they let like all kids have to play. They just play.
But it's unstructured.
Unstructured.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then what they do is through that experience, they start to pick out kids that they see are going to be good. And then when they get to 13, I think, or 14, they start to push them into certain sports. But they just be a kid, just go play.
Again, you probably heard it too. Like you go to the fields of Bristol, and when we were kids, and there's the same amount of kids, okay, and the fields are empty because they see the kids on the scooters, and you see the kids, you see the kids still play basketball in Bristol. They still play basketball, but the fields are empty. We have the most beautiful complex in Bucks County, and it's not being used. We haven't changed the lights since my father put them in. Yeah. Back in 1970. We haven't changed the lights, and it's like we got to get these kids back on the field. Yeah. It's just not as fun as it was for us.
Yeah. It's a whole difference.
Yes.
I mean, you look at basketball too, right? Remember driving around all the public courts in Twin Oaks and all those courts, right? They were packed every Saturday and Sunday, and now they're parking lots, and now they're not used. And kids they play 12U, 13U. They don't play outside. Right? We talk about this all the time, right? Being 13 years old, playing against grown men at the courts, you had to figure out something to be effective, right? So. And
what scares me, I know it's great, but what scares me for the sports is flag football. Now that's being played at a younger age, and that's going to take a lot of people away from softball. It's going to
and that's the largest growing sport.
Yeah.
So you watch out for that and see how that impacts everything too.
Well, thanks, Jeff.
All right, man.
Man, we appreciate my guy Jeff Manto.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Man, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was great, and he's an idol. To me, and I got to tell you this story. This is great. So you were talking about what a fan said to him, so I got to give you this one. So we go up. I think you were playing, right? I think maybe still for Richmond.
Okay.
Was it right? Remember, met you. I was up in the Poconos. You were playing Scranton, I think it was, right? AAA, and he was a stud. So we were up there just kind of hanging out with friends, but they had a game, and it's like, yo, let's go. We want to go watch Jeff Manto. So we go to the game, and Jeff is signing autographs, and we go down and go see him. And he's like, yo, Jeff. And he knows you, which is awesome. Hey, what's up? I'll be right with you. And he leaves. Like they got called in, like you got called into your thing. And I'm like, that. Right. So he's coming up. I'm like, Judas! I was like, you're upset because you wanted to see him. It's like, man, he big timed us. We got home next day. Get a phone call from Jeff Manto. Yo, man, I'm so sorry. We got called, which was awesome. I was like, that wasn't me, Jeff. Call me. But it was awesome. I remember that. We were so excited to see him, And he called and was like, man, that's cool. That's character.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's awesome. Yeah, that was cool.
So thank you so much for joining us. For everybody listening, check us out on Training4Athletes.com. Follow us for a lot of coaching and parent content. Check out the Manto Player Development Center.
And that's it, man.
All right.
I'm excited. Thank you again. Episode 3.
See you next month.
Time out.